Today, I have both incredibly tremendous numbers for Donald Trump coming up in a sort of different context, but also devastating numbers for Donald Trump. So we're a year out from the election. Yesterday, we talked about how more than likely this is going to be an election, like most elections, that comes down to the results in some key battleground states. We looked yesterday at how Donald Trump is faring in particular states in head-to-head matchups against the three frontrunners in the Democratic primary: Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders. Fine. Trump is doing quite poorly in these battleground states against Biden and Bernie, and he's actually doing pretty well in those battleground states against Elizabeth Warren. However, let's at least briefly look at the national numbers, because if the national numbers are even close to accurate, we could be heading towards a historic election defeat for Donald Trump. So let's take a look. Joe Biden, in a hypothetical matchup, is leading Donald Trump nationally by 17, according to a new Washington Post poll. Elizabeth Warren is leading Trump by 15, and Bernie Sanders right in there leading Trump at 14. Now, these are truly stunning numbers. And of course, we've not seen a popular vote victory in a presidential campaign by 14, 15, or 17 for a very, very long time. Offhand, I don't remember when the last time was. According to the same poll, even Mayor Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris are leading Trump, but not by as much. So let's go through it piece by piece. As I said yesterday, do I expect Donald Trump to lose the popular vote in 2020 by 14 points, by 15 points, by 17 points? I don't expect that. I believe some people who today say they would vote for a Democrat will end up voting for Donald Trump, either out of fear or due to propaganda or incumbency bias. I believe that it is going to tighten. And indeed, a lot of that lopsided popular vote is going to end up coming out of big blue states like California, as we saw in 2016. If you look at polling today in states that are expected to be the difference makers, we already looked at those numbers yesterday. It is much tighter. You're looking at 4, 2, 6, even much narrower margins. But still, if the popular vote is even half as lopsided as this polling suggests, we could have an unprecedented defeat for Donald Trump in November of 2020. But Donald Trump could also get himself reelected, even losing the popular vote by 3, 4, even 5 or 6 points. There are models where Trump loses the popular vote by 5 points, but still wins the Electoral College. Although as you get to 5, 6, 7, it starts to become more and more unlikely that you could lose the popular vote by so much and still manage to win the Electoral College. But these are not numbers that anyone who is on our side should be counting on or seeing as a signal that we should relax and not worry about the outcome. Because remember the letdown that was 2016. Every single person should be voting, no matter where you vote. Now, one good sign for the anti-Trump movement is that if you look at the internals of how this big rift between Trump and the Democratic frontrunners has opened up, of course, Democrats overwhelmingly voting against Trump. Of course, Republicans overwhelmingly voting for Trump. But independents have been slowly shifting away from Donald Trump. And that's a good sign for the anti-Trump movement. Republicans mostly love the guy. Democrats mostly hate the guy. And it's going to be a turnout game. But independent voters shifting to be more and more against Trump is a bad sign for him and a good sign for Democrats. Lastly, we really need to not underestimate that even if these numbers remain this way for the next year, even if we get out the vote, there can be another 11th hour Comey letter or, some equivalent to it. Obviously, it's not going to be Comey in 2020, but some equivalent to it. The effect of strategic algorithmic online advertising could be a difference maker. The voter suppression tactics that are employed by Republicans at the state level. So the real risk here is overconfidence, which could put Donald Trump in office for another 4 years. And what we need to do in order to fight back or overwhelm those factors that at the last minute could help Donald Trump is turnout on our side needs to be so high that none of those things end up making a difference. So register to vote, help other people register to vote, remind people to register to vote, confirm that you were registered to vote if you believe that you are, report any registration irregularities or voter purges to both the media and your local election officials now, not October 29th, not on election day or the day before. We've got to get on this now. And if all of these things come together, then we may be able to remove Donald Trump. And, 17 points down in a poll to Joe Biden. Who cares? We don't need to win by 17. It doesn't matter if we can trust those polls. We just need to win. And that is what the focus needs to be for the next, I guess it's like 359 days or something like that. The countdown is very much on.